Welcome to another episode of Wisdom Wednesday, where we have different experts coming onto our view to share with you their expertise. Today, I'm going to share with you something that have helped me personally to control my anxiety, to make me feel a lot better when I'm not in a right mindset, and also to help me to get more freedom in my life. What am I talking about? The EFT technique. Have you ever heard of it? If you haven't, today you're in for a treat. I have the expert of this EFT technique, Heidi. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please tell us a little bit more about you.
Thanks, Martha. Thanks so much for having me. So I am an EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques, or otherwise known as tapping, practitioner, and I'm a health coach. And I love to help women who are feeling stressed, overwhelmed, maybe anxious, or struggling with something in their lives to implement EFT or tapping into their lives to help with the stress reduction.
It is so true that a lot of the times that with EFT, I find that because it's actually based in the ancient Chinese medicine about all our pressure point, it really makes a difference to the result of it. That's how I see it. Would you be able to explain to us a little bit more about these techniques?
Yeah, thank you. So it's a combination of using Western psychology and Eastern philosophy and ancient wisdom from Chinese medicine. So we use the same points as have been used in acupuncture for about the last 5,000 years. So we use those same points and we tap on them to activate those particular meridian points to get the energy flowing within our body. And by addressing a particular issue, by using that kind of exposure therapy, talking about our issue, acknowledging it and acknowledging our feelings at the same time as tapping, the tapping sends a signal to our brain to calm, to feel safe, to feel more regulated. And so we're able to actually heal what it is that's causing the issue in our body and in our mind
That
together.
is so true because I find that a lot of us that when we are at an anxiety state and when it actually comes in, we find that we don't know what to do. And the worst thing to do is to sit still because our body is not regulated. We're not moving. We're not actually transferring that feeling out. So in your personal experience, how did you use EFT to help you overcome a stressful situation and build resilience?
Yeah, it's so true. I remember
Mm,
before I really got into EFT tapping, I remember pacing on my back deck, being stressed
mm.
and anxious about things and trying to figure out what to do with myself and not knowing what to do. And now that I have really integrated this tool and I know how to do it well, I can use it immediately. So, for example, literally before I got on this call, I started preparing myself 5 or 10 minutes beforehand, and then I started to get a bit nervous. I thought, oh goodness, Martha's going to be asking me all these questions and I might be on the spot. And just a little bit of nervousness came up and I started to think, oh gosh, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? And so I started tapping and I just acknowledged, yep, just feeling a little bit nervous. What am I going to say? And as soon as I did it, my body and my mind started to calm down. My brain comes back online and I think, I know what to say. I have the answers. I've talked about this a million times, but it was just my body having that normal response to showing up in a different space, doing something new and different, and feeling a little bit nervous. It's natural. Lots of people
Yeah, it is a wonderful way of actually transferring that energy. I remember I went into one of an EFT workshop and it was the first time I'm experiencing it. I don't know what to expect, but I know that by tapping, it helps me to focus on something else and to have some kind of a release onto it. So I actually really enjoy it. So what are some of the common misconceptions about EFT tapping and how would you address them?
So I think it can go a couple of different ways. So you've got some people who think EFT tapping is just really, really simple, right? They maybe are people who pick it up and start tapping and immediately feel a release. And that is awesome. Hooray for them. But EFT is called emotional freedom techniques for a reason. There actually are many, many different techniques as part of EFT, and you can learn to use some of them for yourself, and some are more better suited for a therapeutic environment where you've got someone helping you through some deeper healing. So I guess one of the misconceptions is it's just for that basic tapping to distract you or to make you feel a bit better in the moment, when actually it's very rooted in scientific evidence that it does make changes in the brain, which actually help us to heal in the long term as well. And we can, when we're ready and when the time is right, or if we have a particular issue that we want to address, we can actually heal things at a deeper level. There are also people who think that EFT tapping doesn't work or doesn't work for them. And so I think that's a bit of a misconception. It's even one that I had when I first started doing EFT tapping for myself. There were some issues that I felt like, oh, it doesn't work for me on that. So for example, there are some specific techniques you can use EFT tapping for pain reduction and pain and release in the body. And I tried to use it a few times for that, and really had a hard time. I wasn't getting it. It wasn't working right away. And so it really was just that my body wasn't ready to release that stress that was being held in my body. It wasn't quite feeling safe. It wasn't quite healed enough in some other ways. And once I got to that point, I have had tremendous success with reducing back pain, headaches, neck issues, a whole host of different things. But I needed to be persistent in practicing the skill, in learning it more, in doing more of it before I got to that point. So for some people, it takes a really short amount of time. For others, it takes a long time, but we can all get there in the end.
I hear you, because like a lot of people are looking for what we call a magic pill. Unfortunately, not everything in the earth is a magic pill. And even that there is a magic pill in front of you, you have to be ready and to be able to accept it. I always say that every method that is out there, they will work for someone, but they may not for you. It may not align with you. You must first trust, believe, and realize what it can do before it will have any kind of benefit of coming back to you. That's how I see it.
I agree with you to a certain extent. And they have done scientific tests with EFT tapping on people who do not believe that it works, and it still works for them. So you don't have to believe 100%, but I do think your psycho-emotional, energetic body needs to be ready to release whatever it is. And that's on a very subconscious level. You can very much be sitting here saying, I'm ready to make this huge change. I want everything to change in my life. But your subconscious mind might not be quite ready for that yet. And so that's where we sometimes just have to have a bit of compassion for ourselves, take it step by step in these small ways so that we can really do the healing in a way that feels good and is right for us.
I hear you on that. Yes, it is more on a subconscious level, isn't it? Because I have seen so many people saying that, hey, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. Hey, even for me, how many courses I have joined, especially on diet courses or things like that. I join it, but I'm not doing the things it was telling me to do. I'm not ready to release that. But in a way, it did work because it makes me more conscious of what I'm doing. Like recently, I have joined a course, and even that I didn't see the full extent of it. And it was my fault because I didn't follow everything that it says I must do. But I'm still more consciously aware of what I'm doing. And I think that's what a lot of people, when they're experiencing new things, that they have to be aware of this transition into it.
Yes, exactly. And we're all on our own journey, and we've got different things to learn at different times, right? So you're learning something in this particular course, you're becoming more aware of your actions and what's working and what isn't. And sometimes we need to experiment too.
Yeah.
You know, we just try something out, we give that a bit of a go for a while, and we see which parts of it work and resonate, and then we try something else. So yeah, I mean, life is a bit of a journey like that.
Definitely. So for someone who's completely new to EFT, what advice or tips would you give them to get started? And how quick can they see result?
Yeah, well, I think that the first, going back to my previous point, is that could vary for different people. It's going to be different ways for different people. Some people will literally, and actually a lot of people will feel an immediate effect with some of the very basic techniques
Yeah.
immediately on their first time without a lot of effort, right? So there is some benefit you can get very, very quickly. And then there's learning that next level of technique, EFT, the basic recipe, which is what most people mean when they say emotional freedom technique. They're talking about the basic recipe. And that is the most useful one to learn. I teach it in a course of mine, and it's really important to learn how to integrate that for yourself in your life, because once you've got that on board, man, you can do so much and you can really feel the difference. And that will take a different amount of time for different people. So, but what I would say is being persistent. Once you're learning that technique, getting really specific. So what is it specifically that you want to work on? If we try and work on all of our problems at the same time, it's too big and overwhelming. With EFT, we tend to work on one small thing at a time, address one emotion that's bothering us, address one part of an issue gently at a time. And by healing that part, we overcome the bigger issues in time with a little bit of persistence.
Definitely, it is consistency is a key, isn't it? When we try something, if we don't see full result on it straight away, it's like it's not changing clothes or switching a switch. We are trying to do something, and I definitely noticed that even in the first session that, like I told you earlier, that I went into a big workshop with a lot of people. Do I feel a big shift? Not really, but it gradually, actually, in my unconscious mind and my subconscious, that I'm starting to see changes on it. And having consistency of what you're doing is definitely the key. So, how many sessions should people go for when they're going for an EFT journey?
Yeah, so maybe I can give you a couple of examples.
Mm.
So I worked with one woman who came in and was having quite a few health concerns, had some chronic health conditions, was feeling really unwell, had some physical pain, and was also quite stressed by that because it was causing a whole lot of other issues in her life. So we worked mostly on the stress that it was causing throughout her life. And we did 7 sessions. And at the end of 7 sessions, she had pain reduction, not completely all gone, but she had less headaches, less migraines, actual physical changes to where she was at. She also felt like she had been able to put boundaries in place in relationships, right? Where she previously, that had been a bit of an issue for her, and that meant that she was feeling so much more empowered to achieve her own goals. So all of those things happened in about 7 sessions over a few months, right? Then, there's other situations where I worked with one young woman on some anxiety around school and around exams. We only did, I think it was 3 sessions. And in 3 sessions, she moved from being really, really anxious to being able to go to school, complete exams, no problems whatsoever. And sometimes you get huge shifts even in just 1 session. But I don't want to overpromise and say, oh, we can change everything in 1 session, because I think that's the unusual situation. I think if we do 1 session, it's usually about coaching someone to really learn what it is, where they really want to go to, and show them and get them really comfortable and confident with using the technique for themselves.
Definitely. Yeah, because like even that we go into the session with you, you are teaching us something what to do at the same time. So it's not just about having a conversation and that's it. Like you go to a psychologist, you have a conversation, that's it. You go home, maybe have a few tools to you, but there's no physical things to remind you. But going through this process with you instead, that we learn something, we start learning basic tapping technique, starting to learn what our body is actually telling us that what we need in ourselves. And I think that is one of a huge benefit of learning about this EFT technique.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That's exactly what I would say. And I also very much take the way I work with people in a coaching sense. So we're always looking for, how do you want things to be different in your life in the future? So we're not going back to the past just for the sake of it. We're not talking about the crappy things that happened to you or the difficult or stressful things that happened, unless they're currently showing up as an issue for you right now. So where are you right now? Where do you want to be? And what are some of the things that we might need to heal in order to get you feeling comfortable and confident to move forward in that way?
I love what you just said, because that is the difference. So tell us about, how do we reach out to you?
Yes. So I have a website, which is tapin.com.au, and all of my products and services are available on there. So I have a course called Tapping Genius, which is an online self-paced course. It's a really easy first step for people if they just want to test it out and give it a little bit of a try and learn some basic techniques for themselves. It is actually reasonably comprehensive, but you can kind of pick and choose the bits that you want and do it in your own time frame. And you can also look to booking a free discovery call with me, or even just booking in a session with me on my website there as well. And you can also catch me at tap_in_mind_body_health. That's too long to remember. You'll put it in the notes, I hope, on Instagram to follow along. But yeah, anyway,
That
I'm
is
around.
good.
And I'm
That
in the
is
group,
good.
so ask me a question.
Yes, definitely. Whenever that I see some of you may need help with can be benefit using what Heidi does, I will tag her into the post so she can directly know what you are needing help in that area. So it has been such a wonderful joy talking to you today. We know how to find you. I'm going to put her contact into the show note there. When you contact her and reach out to her, don't forget to mention your special code from our group YTG40+ to get your extra special. Thank you, Heidi, once again for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Martha. See you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for coming with us and joining us today on today's Wisdom Wednesday. I look forward to seeing you next week.